What's the most terrible thing you're secretly happy about? The most terrible thing I'm secretly happy about happened the day my uncle lost everything. And before you judge me, you need to know what kind of person he was. Growing up, Uncle Rick was the family hero. At least that's what everyone called him. He was loud, confident, and somehow always the center of attention. Every holiday became a Rick story. Every family gathering turned into a celebration of whatever Rick had done that week. The problem was that behind closed doors, he was awful, especially to my dad. My dad was the quiet brother, the one who worked overtime, the one who loaned money without expecting it back, the one who fixed everyone's problems. And somehow he was also the family punching bag. Every Thanksgiving, Rick would make jokes about Dad's old truck. Every Christmas, he'd ask if Dad was still working that little job. People laughed. Dad never did, but he never fought back either. I hated it. One summer, things got worse. My parents were struggling financially after my mom had surgery. Money was tight, really tight. For the first time in my life, I heard my parents talking about bills behind closed doors. Then Dad made a mistake. He asked Rick for help, not a handout, a loan, just enough to get through a rough month. Rick agreed immediately. Dad was relieved for about 2 days. Then Rick told everyone, literally everyone. Family members started calling, aunts, cousins. Even people who lived in other states somehow knew. Every version of the story made Dad sound more pathetic. Eventually, Rick started joking about it publicly. At a family barbecue, he raised a beer and announced, "Let's all thank me for keeping my brother out of bankruptcy." Everyone laughed, except my dad. I still remember looking over and seeing him stare at the ground. That was the first time I ever saw him look embarrassed. From that day forward, I hated my uncle. Not the dramatic teenage kind of hate, the quiet kind, the permanent kind. Years passed. Rick's business exploded. He bought a giant house, luxury cars, vacation homes. Everything looked perfect, and he never stopped bragging. Every conversation somehow came back to how successful he was. Meanwhile, Dad kept working, kept helping people, kept being himself. Then came the phone call. I was 26, at work. My sister texted me 3 words. "Call me now." I thought someone had died. Instead, she answered laughing. Actually laughing. Then she told me federal investigators had raided Rick's company that morning. Apparently, he'd been hiding money, falsifying records, and cutting a dozen illegal corners for years. The business wasn't successful. It was built on fraud. Within months, everything collapsed. The company disappeared. The house was sold. The cars were gone. Even some family members stopped answering his calls. And for the first time in my life, nobody wanted to hear Rick talk. Part of me felt guilty. I really did. A family member was watching his life fall apart. That should have made me sad. But then I remembered my dad. The jokes, the humiliation, the years of arrogance, and I couldn't help it. I felt relieved. Not because Rick suffered, because the illusion finally died. For decades, everyone treated him like the smartest man in the room. Now people saw who he really was. A year later, there was a family reunion. A small one. Nothing fancy. I remember walking into my aunt's backyard and seeing Rick sitting alone at a folding table. No crowd, no audience, no stories, just silence. A few minutes later, my dad walked over and sat beside him. They talked quietly for almost an hour. Nobody could hear what they said. When Dad came back, I asked him what happened. He shrugged, then smiled, and said he finally apologized. That should have been the satisfying part. But it wasn't. The satisfying part came a few months later. My uncle called my dad asking for help finding work. After everything that had happened, after all the years of mockery, my dad helped him. No speeches, no revenge, no humiliation, just help. And that's when I realized something. Rick losing everything wasn't the reason I was secretly happy. I was happy because in the end, my dad turned out to be exactly who he always claimed to be. And Rick finally had to live with the fact that he never was.